Welcome back to the channel. I'm Cheyenne.
And I'm Heather.
And on tonight's murder menu is William Mansfield Jr. Trigger warnings. We're going to be talking about murder, rape, all of the above. Language. So viewer discretion is advised. Highlighted that topic. So William Mansfield Jr. was born in 1956 in Grand Rapids, Michigan. He's the eldest of 5 children. His father, William Sr., was convicted of child molestation and had served 10 years in prison in both Michigan and Nevada. His father often encouraged the boys to fight. Despite the violence, Mansfield claims that he had a good upbringing.
So
it's okay to beat the shit out of each other, but
Daddy is a pedo child abuser, and you had a good childhood.
Yes.
All right. Standards are not set very high for this one.
And he got along. And he got along with his family, but that changed when he turned 14, of course, because he probably discovered puberty. When he dropped out of school and then re-altered his birth certificate so that he could serve in the army. While serving, he became addicted to alcohol. Not long after, he began experimenting with the different types of drugs. As a result of addiction, he then was sent to treatment at a VA hospital in Tampa in 1975. Then he married Phyllis. Yeah, I'm just going to call her Phyllis. And had 2 children with her. But they then shortly divorced in 1979. Elaine, I don't know, I'm just going to call her Elaine. On New Year's Eve in 1975, a 15-year-old girl from Ohio named Elaine Louise went missing from a KOA campground. Which, ironically funny about that, it's not ironically funny, but ironically, David and I almost went to the exact same KO campground that they went to.
Really?
Yeah. And instead, we decided to just stay in Georgia instead of piping it all the way down to Florida. I mean, that kind of would have been a little interesting. But
yeah.
She was on vacation with her mother, Betty, and stepfather. And this part really frustrates me as a parent, so bear with me, guys. She was last seen going to the campground showers. The next morning, Elaine's family then noticed she never returned.
They didn't realize all night that did they think she was just like taking an all-night shower or?
Exactly. That frustrates me. How?
Especially when most campgrounds, I don't know if this is like that, but at most campgrounds, even if you go to Lake Logan, you got to pay for showers.
So KOA, depending on, I don't know, it doesn't say if they were in tents or if they were camping and RVs or something like that. But the campgrounds that we go to, between Virginia and Georgia, you didn't have to pay for showers. You had to pay to use their washing machines and stuff, but you didn't have to pay for showers.
Oh, okay.
But even then, how the hell are your 15-year-old daughter went to go take a shower, and then you're going to tell me you didn't go check on her at all? You didn't, none of that?
Right.
That's just
that's weird.
Neglect, that literally is negligent on the mother's part because she wasted valuable time.
Mm-hmm.
And on that situation.
Yeah.
So the next morning, Elaine's family noticed she didn't return. Then the parents reported her missing. Search party, of course, 15-year-old girl from Ohio. Search parties were organized by local police department and volunteers were spread out to search the area in order to find Elaine. who at the time was thought to be a runaway. But why? Like, there was nothing in the history that states this kid would run away. Of course, but law enforcement, oh, she's 15. She probably just ran away.
Yeah, that's
their MO lately.
It bugs me so much, but that's their main MO.
Mm-hmm.
They ran away.
Several people claimed they had seen a girl matching her description riding a motorbike. And when asked where she was going, the girl claimed to be returning to her home state of Ohio. On the other hand, there were also reported sightings of Elaine talking to a man in about his 20s near the shower, which this one right here is more believable.
Mm-hmm.
Area, and later entering his car, a light blue 1966 Ford Fairlane with a Florida's license plate. After staying an additional week to aid with searches for their daughter, realizing nothing could be done, the Chalklers returned to their home without Elaine, which I wish a motherfucker would, because ain't no way. On January 31st, 1977, Billy pleaded guilty to a sexual misconduct. So, Billy is William. Misconduct charge against a babysitter in Grand Rapids, receiving 6 months in prison and 36 months probation. Not long after leaving jail, he assaulted 2 teenagers in a rural area of the city and was sent back to prison for violating the conditions of his parole, where he then shared a cell with Albert Lee III, which, girl, look him up. It's actually kind of interesting. Who confessed to Mansfield. Listen. He confessed to Mansfield that he had murdered an 11-year-old girl named Linda Vanderveen. And with this information, Billy, this motherfucker, testified against Lee in exchange for a lesser sentence.
Jesus. So is this one dude going to have to be on our list of people to possibly do?
Possibly, because he's actually... But just the fact that, in prison, you're either a bitch, you mind your bitch, or you're somewhere in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
This motherfucker was a child molester. Well, he was...
Which he should have been low man on the totem pole, because they didn't really get their asses beat.
Right. But if he could get this valuable information, he is considered the golden ticket for the DA.
So they're going to do whatever they can to protect him.
So he was probably put in protection.
Gotcha.
So he testified for a lesser sentence and was released from jail after only serving 1 year on June 19th, 1980. He then forced 18-year-old Pamela Sherrill into a van, drove her to a rented trailer where he proceeded to hit her, cut her lip, bruise her neck. Sherrill manages to get away, and she reported the incident to the police. But when they went to arrest him, he was not there. On November 23rd, he was arrested in Santa Cruz, but then posted bail and was set free again. Jesus. I think this motherfucker might be the Houdini.
Mm-hmm.
The Houdini
He's gotta be
serial killers.
Something.
All right, Renee Selling. Because we'll touch bases back with Elaine in a minute. It'll all piece together. On December 7th, 1980, the half-naked body of a 29-year-old Renee Selling was found by a drainage ditch at the side of the Buena Vista Road in Watsonville, California, by, of course, passing cars. A mother of 3, Renee had been last seen by her husband, Raymond, the previous day. Her clothes had been ripped apart with her blouse and pants lowered to her ankles. Her COD was rolled strangulation. So he likes it up close and personal.
Mm-hmm.
4 days later, Billy and his 23... Bitch, this is where it gets twisted. All right. So, his 23-year-old brother, Gary, were then arrested again in Nevada and questioned for Selling's murder. The two men lied about their identities and ages, but they had fit the description of Mansfield and Mansfield's brother. And then they were placed into custody at the county jail on December 16th. The two brothers were arraigned at Watsonville Court on murder charges of Selling's death. They were dubbed the Bag Brothers by the media due to the fact that they wore paper bags over their head to protect the testimonies of any potential witnesses. The Mansfields pleaded not guilty. They pleaded not guilty to the murder charges and were ordered to stand trial for Selling's murders by Justice John Marlowe on February 4th, 1981. Girl.
I can't get over the bags on the head.
I don't know. In March of 1981, the Hernando County Sheriff's Office obtained a search warrant. Bitch, this is where it gets crazy. Obtained a search warrant to excavate the Mansfield's family property in Springs Hill. Based on information provided and an informant who claimed that there was a body underneath the property. The warrant led authorities to dig where they located a skull and bones in a shallow grave covered with a blanket. The authorities were unsure if the bones were Elaine's, so they were sent off to an examiner where the pathologist Dr. William Whitman concluded that they belonged to the female under 20 years of age. Despite the search warrant naming only Elaine's body, authorities suspected there could possibly be more bodies. They continued with the excavations. Additional officers from Tampa and metal detectors. Experts also aided in the excavations. The first located body was tentatively identified as the missing Elaine girl from Ohio. Based on the skeleton characteristics, skull, and missing tooth, plus jewelry that was also located. Over the following weeks, there were continuous excavations with varying success, with the investigators initially uncovering bones from chickens, cows as well on March 24th. A small sack of human bones was found underneath their fireplace.
So they were burning them?
Well, yeah. So I don't know if they burnt them. What I think is they killed her and then they enclosed her into the fireplace.
Gotcha.
After this discovery, it led investigators to continue to dig and plow. They found, in plowing the water pipes, electrical wiring installed over the bodies. So they put bodies in the wall and then ran like their electric wires.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. Eventually, 3 more skeletons were unearthed, all belonging to young women. They were determined to be the following. So we have Jane Doe. She was initially thought to be less than 13 years old. We have Teresa Fillingrim, described as a white female aged 22 to 30, found on March 17th. It was speculated that she might have been 21 years old. Melinda Harder, who had gone missing from St. Petersburg on July 27th, 1980. But this was ruled out when Harder's remains were identified in 2008. So finally identified using genetic genealogy in 2022, the 16-year-old had been reported missing May 16th, 1880. Sandra Jean Graham, 21, a Tampa native and employee of the Hillsbury Community College. Graham was last seen at the parking lot of Pam Liquor Lounge on April 27th in 1980. So between 70, I think 75
to 80.
to 80.
They've killed 3.
So 1, 2, no, because they found a bunch more bodies. They've killed consistently.
Yeah.
Accompanied by a man described as a biker. She had left her cigarettes, keys, and car keys, eyeglasses at the bar. Her decomposed body was identified through forensic dentistry. The skulls of 2 more Jane Does were later sent to reconstruct at Colorado State University, with task headed by retired anthropologist Professor Dr. Michael Charney. No positive matches were made. Trace of filming was not identified until July of 2022. And the remaining Jane Doe remains unidentified to this day. Mansfield admitted to killing 18-year-old Carol Ann Bennett, though due to serving a life sentence in California, followed by 4 more life sentences in Florida, the state declined to pursue charges. Mansfield was also briefly considered a suspect in the murder of 19-year-old Cynthia Clements, 19-year-old Elizabeth Margaret Graham, both of whom were killed in the similar manner and sexually assaulted.
But he didn't sexually assault any of the other ones. Why would...
No, he did. He sexually assaulted all these. It's just the bones were too... A lot of the bodies were too hard to tell until extensive testing. Here's my cursor here. Oh, no, that was not it. We just went all the way back. Oh, there it is. Okay, let me find my spot. James Winkles would later be convicted of Graham's homicide and remains a suspect in Clement's murder. So there's possibly... So they think this guy killed her. Mm-hmm. Following the discoveries of the skeletons, it was decided that the trial needed to be moved from San Rafael to avoid bias against Mansfield. Girl, this motherfucker, he's Houdini. He's the Houdini of serial killers.
He really is.
Except, he got caught. Okay,
he still keeps escaping.
Oh, it gets worse.
Or getting out.
It gets worse. Following the discovery of skeletons, it was decided the trial needed to be moved because of bias. Mm-hmm. At trial, he previous escapades with the law and alleged sightings of the night of Selling's death were recalled. Despite this, the jury was deadlocked.
How?
I have no fucking idea. Like, they had testimonies, they had eyewitnesses, they had proof. They put this motherfucker at the scene. And the jury was still deadlocked.
That's crazy.
And a new trial was ordered. At the request of Assistant State Attorney Chip Harp, the new trial was granted. Prison escape and recapture. So, on October 27th, 1981, aided by 22-year-old fellow inmate Ben Bering, Billy unchained himself while at the recreation yard, climbed up a roof, where together with Then they jumped to the ground and fled. However, they were spotted by a woman who initially ignored them because she thought they were joggers in orange tracksuits. Who jogs in orange tracksuits?
Chained to each other.
Chained to each other. Well, I mean, this...
Let's just chain ourselves to each other and go for a little running run.
Keep up now, motherfucker. Yeah, bitch. That girl, I want to be smoking what the fuck she was smoking, obviously. Before eventually notifying police, patrols and sniff dogs were quickly dispatched and the surrounding area searched. At 11:45 p.m., a man reported 2 suspicious men running by his house. At least this motherfucker had the audacity to be like, hey, that don't look right.
Mm-hmm.
And policemen investigated the area, finding 2 sets of footprints leading up to the river. After 11 hours of searching, a tired and disheveled Mansfield was arrested without incident at Paradise Park. He's like, at this point, motherfucker, I give up.
Yeah.
He was hiding in some bushes and still wearing his prison uniform. At least he ain't got to change. About a half hour later, Ben was arrested at Lighthouse Point after being spotted by a citizen. Both prisoners were then successfully returned back to jail. While in Santa Cruz County Jail at Hernando County, judge indicted Mansfield for murder. The murders of one out of the 4 victims found bodies buried beneath his property. In addition, he was charged with attempted sexual battery in Cheryl's case, which the one that got away.
Yeah.
The new trial was scheduled for February 8th, 1982, with Billy's brother Gary and a woman known as Cindy agreeing to testify against him. After 2 weeks long trial, Billy Mansfield was convicted of Renee Selling's murder and sent back to prison to await his sentence. He eventually was given 25 years, so basically a life sentence, concerning the Florida homicide. After initially claiming to be innocent, Mansfield finally pleaded guilty to all 4 and was given 4 life terms as a part of his plea deal. In prepared statement, he said, "I'm pleading guilty because I am guilty of the charges. I have no other reason."
Okay.
He then took the plea deal to avoid the death penalty. Following the arrest of his brother, Gary Mansfield, for drug charges on October 27th, so Gary got out of this. It was only his mother. 27, 2020, more remains were located at the family home in Springfield, Florida. Jesus Christ. So you had a killing team.
Yeah.
One went down, the other one didn't. So from...
The one was the fall guy.
Right, but you have to think that when Gary got out, he had most likely have been killing.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought it was kind of interesting.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that one was...
He was like, yeah, love you, little bro. Enjoyed the time, but I gotta bounce now.
Yeah.
And that motherfucker bounced. He bounced all the way back in 2020. That happened in 2020, so they haven't released too much on the newer bodies. I'm assuming they're trying to find identities.
Right.
That was... I was like, I'm
so
not
we'll
going
have
to
do an update when...
Yeah, I'm going to have to dig more into this case and try to do an update when they start releasing more. Like, I wasn't going to do it because it's a short episode, but then I got reading about the brothers, and I was like, you know what? That's a little bit of a plot twist. So
Yeah.
All right, guys. That's going to be a wrap on this week's episode. Short for you, but stay tuned for the next one.
Bye.